All right, final game that we sort of care about, and like I said, this is even a stretch here, but Patriots 32, Browns 13. I want to talk about this game because, man, Drake Maye, what an impressive performance from Drake Maye. Myles Garrett has a career-high 5 sacks, ties his season high with 8 pressures in this loss. It doubles his sack total entering the week with the 5, which was a career best for him. But the fact that Drake Maye has a stat line that looks like what it did today, where he completes over 70% of his passes, where he just gets it all done. Here's a couple of notes from Drake Maye. 12.4 adjusted yards per attempt and 58.8% passing success rate. Both of those ranked second among week 8 quarterbacks in the early slate. And I had somebody ask me, well, hey, you got to include adjusted net yards per attempt because he lost all those sack yards. Oh, well, his adjusted net yards per attempt was over 8.0, which ranked third among the quarterbacks that at the time had completed their game. So any way you want to slice it, Drake Maye, the fact that, he takes 6 sacks in total. Myles Garrett dominates the game. And Drake Maye is still incredible. I mean, you just can't, there's not enough platitudes here for what this guy's doing this year, Chris.
No, there aren't. And this is from our buddy Ben Solak over at ESPN. Browns DC Jim Schwartz has coached 49 regular and postseason games in Cleveland. Drake Maye's 54.5% dropback success rate against the Browns is the second best QB game against this defense in Schwartz's tenure. I mean, this is the same DC that's had Joe Burrow's number in multiple games so far over the past couple of seasons. And now we see Drake Maye just go in there with Stephon Diggs, Kayshon Boutte, Demario Douglas. I mean, with guys with a pass-catching core that we would say is inferior to what the Browns typically see on a season-in, season-out basis and completely light them up. So, no, I'm with you. There just aren't enough positives to say about what I would say a failed head coach but awesome offensive coordinator Josh McDaniels is doing now with his team, and also how well Drake Maye is executing this offense with the firepower that he currently has at his disposal.
Right, and getting all those guys activated is really impressive as well. Mac Hollins leads the team with 7 for 89, catching all 7 of his targets. Kayshon Boutte scores another deep touchdown despite catching just 3 passes. Hunter Henry gets in the end zone. Stephon Diggs gets his first touchdown of the season, which you could tell he was juiced up about. They kind of designed a little quick hitter for him, and he was jumping all over Drake Maye afterwards. So the vibes are high in New England's passing attack. Let's talk about the run game here real quick. TreVeyon Henderson, the good and the bad in this game. The good, he finally made the most of his limited touches with 10 carries for 75 yards. The bad, he still played just 22% of the snaps, and he fumbled in this game. So I don't know that changes too much for TreVeyon Henderson.
No, I mean, of course, it was like in the fourth quarter, inside the 10-yard line, and he loses a fumble. And like after everything is really going right for him, after a week 7 performance where we're talking about Terrell Jennings, the 5-minute back for Mike Vrabel, and how Henderson gets banished to the shadow realm for whatever reason, and now see him operate really well behind that offensive line, 3 explosive plays as well, and then it's a fumble. Because this is the type of performance where you see this in week 8, and now you look ahead to week 9, and who are they playing? The Falcons that just got diced up by James Cook. But now I don't have the same confidence for wanting to start TreVeyon Henderson because we don't know if Mike Vrabel is going to apply any sort of punishment for that lost fumble. So now it's just that's going to be the tough part for me. It's good to see the opportunity there, but for that end to that performance, it makes me at least somewhat, I would say, uncertain about wanting to start him in week 9.
On the Browns side of things here, Quinshon Judkins unfortunately suffered a shoulder injury here after not getting off to a good start in this game anyways against one of the best run defenses in the NFL, which, by the way, Bijan Robinson faces this Patriots run defense next week, so we'll see about that. The good, though, Harold Fannin, badass player, despite David Njoku actually playing in this game and also scoring a touchdown, he ran a route on 71% of the dropbacks and was targeted almost 30% of those and had a couple of sick plays in this one, including his touchdown. So Harold Fannin, no matter what, is locked in here, Chris. I've just been really impressed with him. I don't know what you think. Otherwise, though, I think this Browns team might have the worst wide receiver room in the entire NFL. So thank God that they actually do have Harold Fannin.
I talked about it earlier today about if you have a Cleveland Browns wide receiver on your roster, just don't do it, man. Just find another player to put on your team instead. Jerry Jeudy, 2 targets, 0 catches. nothing for Jerry Jeudy. So no, I want nothing to do with it. And we've also seen that shift towards them using more of their tight ends and running backs to create a receiving production for the Browns. And that was even before today. I mean, Dylan Gabriel was targeting tight ends and running backs on the majority of his pass attempts. Really hadn't seen much out of the receiving game for either of the wide receivers. And honestly, a wide receiver hadn't gotten into the end zone for the Browns since Cedric Tillman did it back in week 3 or so when Joe Flacco was still starting for them. So no, I'm over it. Let's hope maybe greener pastures for Jerry Jeudy on another roster somewhere else, but it's not with Cleveland for sure.
No, it's not. And let me just read off some of these Browns route participation here, because you mentioned Jerry Jeudy, who, by the way, has run the second most routes among wide receivers this year and is outside the top 50 in yardage. He continues to be like the biggest underperformer in terms of his play, but also the environment around him. I'm kind of at enough already territory with Dylan Gabriel, which I don't know what that means. He's thrown 20 plus air yards on fewer than 3% of his passes this year, which just can't function that way at all. But Shedeur Sanders was inactive in this game. I think he's dealing with a back injury, I believe. So yeah. I don't need to see a Bailey Zappi start, but I do think I've seen enough of Dylan Gabriel at this point. But these are the other wide receiver route participation numbers, and obviously they're rotating 2 tight ends, so none of these guys are going to be full-time players. But the number 2 receiver in terms of route participation for the Cleveland Browns is Gage Larvadane, 58%. Chris, I don't even know who that is. I think he is an I think he's an undrafted free agent this year. I have nothing. Don't got a damn route tree on our buddy Gage Larvadane there. Jamari Thrash, 53%, and Isaiah Bond, who has been terrible this year, which is not surprising. They gave him a fully guaranteed contract after taking no snaps in training camp because he was trying to get himself, acquitted for a sexual assault allegation prior to the draft. And then Malachi Corley, 5%, who's a failed draft pick with the Jets. It's just there's just nothing in this wide receiver room. So that might not be a fair shake for Dylan Gabriel if he's trying to push the ball down the field, but man, this Browns offense is a rough watch right now. So level of concern for Quinshon Judkins coming out of this game, Chris.
I would say a mild level of concern. So I'd say out of a 10, it's more like a 4, 5, 6, somewhere in there. It's just because of the injury to his shoulder. I think the early indications were it's an AC sprain, something along those lines. And that's really why you saw Dylan Sampson get back into the receiving game, 6 targets. And I'm assuming most of that is likely due to Judkins having to leave the game early because of the shoulder injury. So let's check the practice reports or see if there are any other injury notes coming out of this, like say on Tuesday or Wednesday. But for right now, that's my only level of concern, because we've seen the offense be something of a drag for the rest of the from a yards per drive, EPA per drive, that standpoint. And Judkins is still, the opportunity has buoyed a lot of his production. So I would assume that to still be the case, even if Dylan Gabriel is something of a project, let's say, to be kind to the rookie. Because what did we expect from Dylan Gabriel, honestly? What did we expect from him, honestly?
Yeah, no, he was overdrafted because he's like capable of being a backup quarterback in the NFL, but he's on a bad roster with a bad offensive line and really not a lot of wide receiver talent. Like, what are we expecting here? And I'm not expecting like Shedeur Sanders to look great if he does need to play, but I would like to see him at some point just to see what we got here. But this team's drafting a quarterback next year, and we all knew that. All right. Yeah. That does it for the games we sort of care about. Now let's get into the games that could have been an email, and we could have made the whole show an email with some of these blowouts, but these were the most email-y of the email games here. Colts 38, Titans 14. Chris, the Colts put in the B team, Riley Leonard, A.D. Mitchell, Anthony Gould, with over 6 minutes left in the fourth quarter because they scored 30-plus points for the 5th time this season. The Colts offensive machine continues to roll on.
Yeah, and Jonathan Taylor getting 3 touchdowns yet again. And I thought he got the 3rd rushing touchdown, but it was one of those, scam pop passes from Daniel Jones. Yeah. That was kind of killing me, because that would have put him in terms of history for having the 3 straight rushing touchdowns. But either way, I mean, good call by you earlier today talking about Josh Downs and advocating for him and seeing how, again, diverse this passing game is. Michael Pittman with just a grown man touchdown catch with just one arm pinning it against his shoulder earlier. Alec Pierce getting his deep shot. Tyler Warren getting shots in the flats and working downfield. And of course, Josh Downs mixing in as well and finding the end zone. It's just they have so many options that it's hard to trust who you're going to start each week. But if you have an offense like this, it's going to be putting up 30 plus points on a week in, week out basis. Starting any one of them kind of makes some sense. So I won't have as much concern with the way that the Colts are playing if anybody asks me a question about which wide receiver to start.
I couldn't believe this was the first game that Daniel Jones has thrown 3 touchdowns because he's played so well this year. But this is the first game all year that he's thrown 3 touchdowns. And like you said, everybody got activated here. Of course, JT did his thing. But yeah, Alec Pierce catches his weekly deep shot. Michael Pittman just operating like this consistent, steady force. And I love the way they're using Josh Downs around the goal line. He's not going to get the volume that I hoped for like early on in the summer because Michael Pittman and Tyler Warren are doing their things. But they're using him in really intentional, cool ways in this offense. So that's been nice to see. On the Titans side of things, I mean, the Titans are the Titans. I don't know what else to say. Chimere Dike is actually putting up some moments for them. So if you're like desperate in deeper leagues, he at least looks like the guy that you want in this passing game. But the sequence that really embodied this game, between like the difference between these two teams, Mike McCoy, who's the interim head coach for the Tennessee Titans, punted for a net of 22 yards instead of going for a 4th and 3 from the plus 42 down 2 scores versus this Colts offense. And then on the very next play, the 226-pound freak show running back, Jonathan Taylor, rips off an 80-yard touchdown run where he topped 21 miles per hour. And you can see shots of Cam Ward on the sideline like, what are we doing not going for this here? So that's just where the Titans are right now, Chris.
Yeah, and it's a tough look. And I know Cam Ward still has a lot to learn at being an NFL quarterback because you've seen seen the flashes and spurts and starts for him, and that's almost on a play-by-play basis. In some cases, he can get the ball out quickly, like we saw in a couple of those shots to DK and also to A.O. Maynor. But other times, you can see him hesitate, hitch a couple of times behind the line of scrimmage, then wind up taking a sack, or just trying to scramble around and try and create something when there's really nothing there, just given the pass-catching talent that he has around him. So it's kind of a lost season at this point, especially considering they've already fired their head coach. So maybe we'll look towards 2026. But like we both can agree, I mean, DK looking like a solid pickup for them, and also A.O. Maynor. But let's wait for more of that production once we get into the 2026 season.